Good evening. This is Jarrah White. There is no easy way of me telling you this. It has been brought to my attention, and it is with great sadness that I announce Ralph Rene passed away on December 10th this year. As I have been told, he was in severe pain and couldn't handle it anymore. Can you tell us something about your life and work, and how did you become involved in the moon hoax conspiracy movement?
Well, I received a letter from the Rand Corporation. Now, at the time, I did not know that it was a CIA front. All I knew, it was a research and development thing. And they said to me, "Oh, Mr. Inventor, bright inventor." Basically, these words. Because at the time, I was a member of Mensa, the High IQ Society, and I've got a couple of patents. They said, "Do you happen to have any free ideas for poor old NASA on space?" So I said, "Oh, okay, sure." And I dug up 3 or 4 of them. I never kept any records. I should have. And I sent them out to the Rand Corporation as requested. And I never hear from them. I never hear thank you. I never hear nothing. About 2 years later, I moved out of Florida. I'm back up north in Jersey. And I get this 100-page booklet, glossy, full-size, from the government printing office. And it's a thing about NASA. So I start going through it, and I get to page A51 in the appendix, and my name jumps out right in the middle of a whole page full of names. And it was there, if I understand it, and the reason was that at least one of those ideas I sent them had passed 1, 2, 3 sequential screening committees. Okay? But they never told me anything like that. They just, there's my name. And in reading the book, I decided, before I ever got to my name, that it was a tout about a Mars mission. Mm-hmm. And by that time, I really was beginning to have great doubts that we ever went to the moon. Well, I found my name in there, the book being a tout, and I said, "Wouldn't you believe this? These sons of bitches are using my name to promote their program." So I had looked at some of the photos in there and some of the drawings, and the next day, I think, bright and early in the morning, I went to the library, and when I came home, I had about a dozen books written one way or another by either the astronauts involved or by people, you know, what was one of their names was Hurt, by all kinds of authors. And I sat down and started reading them, and of course, because this was, I had no intention of writing a book, but I had written my Last Skeptic of Science, and when I presented it, everybody said, "Where's your footnotes?" Right? Mm-hmm. And I said, "Some of these things are self-evident. Well, you know, I've been at this for 20 years, so what do I need footnotes for?" Well, nobody's going to believe you without footnotes. Mm-hmm. It took over 3 months to reread everything I'd read in those 20 years, when I could find the books, and footnote them all out. So this time, as I started making notes, I was popping down footnotes. All right? Okay. The more I read in these books, the more my belief was solidified that they went nowhere. Okay. And I just, and some of the statements by the astronauts were just plain ludicrous. Mm-hmm. So when I was all done, I called up Bill Casey, who I had read his book 2 years before, and I said, "Bill, you don't know what I got on here, and he says, "Well, why don't you write it into a book?" I said, "Okay."
The end result was NASA mooned America.
And the book is very well done. It's far superior to my book because Rene is essentially a self-taught engineer, and he's come up with a lot of important points that I missed completely.
Over the past few years, Ralph and I have become the best of friends. I can't stress to you enough how far I've gone out of my way to help him. He gave me an interview for the Moonfaker series I've been working on, and he also sent me God only knows how much material for my project. He sent me all the lawsuit papers from the Bill Casey and Jim Lavelle trial. Sent me various videotapes for various lectures that he did, stuff from broadcast, pieces of material that people had sent him. And most recently, He even gave me the copy of the NOAA document that J.A. McKinnon had sent to him during the writing of his book. This is the document that proves that NOAA ultimately failed to predict the major flares of August 1972. The last I spoke to Ralph Rene was on the 30th of November. We spoke over the phone. He kept sending emails. Then the last email I received from him was on December 9th. I didn't hear from him since. Of course, it kills me to be the one to tell you this, because I know it's only a matter of time before the vultures from the bad astronomy forums and ApolloX.net start hyping about his death, just the way they danced on Bill Casey's grave after he died. I'm willing to bet that most of them don't even know his research. Half of them, most of them, if not all, probably haven't even read his book. They only know him from the few interviews he's given on the television. In fact, most of his theories are often attributed to other conspiracy theorists, such as the theory that the Challenger was intentionally blown up. Bill Kaysing was merely echoing what Rene had told us in his book. He has a whole chapter about the Challenger thing. He believes that Krista McAuliffe was blown up intentionally because she wouldn't keep quiet about the stars that you can see on the daylight side of the Earth. And quite frankly, I agree with him. Needless to say, I am shocked, devastated, and saddened hearing this news. I would like to thank Ralph for all the time and support he has given me over the past few years. My heart and condolences go out to his family and friends. Ralph, you were a really useful engineer.
A few years ago, it would have been almost impossible because everybody was sure that we had this super benevolent government, and it's going in the other direction now where people are almost sure that these people are not benevolent. So my job gets easier every month.
This is not the moon. This is a set, period.
I don't go to websites, man. I don't need any of their bullshit. I tore that whole subject apart. As far as I'm convinced, ain't nobody showed me one reason where I'm wrong. From the statements of the astronauts themselves, did they ever go into that?
Well,
Statements of their own scientists?
They tend to twist people's words whenever they can.
Of course.